Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Brickyard interview series. I'm Andrea Thompson, and today it is my pleasure to be speaking with Robyn Sidhu, who is the creative director of Hot Damn. It's a queer slam, and we're going to be doing a series of interviews in partnership with Hot Damn, and this is the first one. We're starting off today. So let me give you a little introduction to Robyn. Robyn Kaur Sidhu, she, he, they, is a queer, mad, chronically ill, Punjabi-Canadian spoken word poet who is constantly pretending to know what they want to do with their life. They have performed on stages in Canada, America, and in the United Kingdom. They are director for the Voices of Today Youth Poetry Festival and the creative director of Hot Damn, It's a Queer Slam. They are also a youth educator of consent, race, S2 LGBTQ+, identity, and poetry. You can find Robyn in vintage cardigans and trying to be gentle with themself. Hi, Robyn. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us today and being our first interview. So I was telling Robyn, I was watching your work today and loving it. And I thought, like, how did this happen? And I was thinking too about a lot of people who will probably check out these kind of videos are emerging spoken word artists. So I would love to hear a little bit about your journey. How did you get into being a spoken word artist?
For sure. I guess that starts a while ago, back in high school. Around maybe grade 10, the first poem I wrote was it was an assignment for a civics class I had to do. And we had to do like an art project around a social justice issue. And I was still in the closet at the time. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll do my topic about queerness just to test the waters with the class. And I decided to do a poem. So I wrote a poem about my queerness, very veiled. I wrote it from the perspective of an ally. And I just fell in love with writing and I loved it so much. And then I started going to the Brampton Poetry Slam that existed for a couple years, but unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. And then kind of gave up on slam for a bit because of that. But then I started university at McMaster and I started slamming with the Burlington Poetry Slam and I fell in love with it again. And I got to meet so many wonderful people who are from the Burlington scene and got to go to so many, other slams, here and across the border. And so it's just been kind of a journey. Yeah. I've been really lucky, I think. I keep falling into situations is how I describe it.
Well, I think you probably generated some of that luck because you're mad talented. I'm a fan. Yeah. So actually, you know what? I would, without any further ado, I would love to let our viewers have a taste of your work. If you wanted to jump in and share a piece, I think that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. So this poem is for my friend Kim, who unfortunately passed away at the beginning of the pandemic. And Kim was a poet and a writer, and I always like to invoke their spirit whenever I do any kind of poetry, just to have them with me. So this one's for Kim. Your cigarette breath tells me you like your rum straight, and we crack open bottled hope. Share memories of when we stole pieces of ourselves back. Our voices curve around the universes we yearn for, and we indulge in roses and joints, never scared to plant ourselves in each other's worlds. You ask me to marry you, and we laugh at the beautiful picture. Your I love you is the safest place I remember. The last time I see you, it is December and warm. We yell and want and take. There is no good warning for losing. The night I hear you passed away, it is April and cold. I find out you sprouted rainbow and I kaleidoscope in place. I catch the sudden colors in boxes. I tuck your poetry, nicotine, and tattoos in there too. I bury them under the ground I saw you on last. I am afraid I will outlive the memories of us, and I do not want to lose another part of you. Years from now, a silence will creep in again, and I will recite your life like healed over scar tissue, inked over with promises of for as long as I can. Continue to tell myself I am fine and alive. My deepest before is someone I lost in the thaw. The world never gave you a chance. The best I could do today was a poem. This is your undying.
Oh, bravo. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
What a beautiful tribute. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. What a beautiful gift. So thank you for sharing some of your work with us, and especially such an intimate piece. I really appreciate it. So, you know, for me, I met you when we started, Brickyard started this partnership with Hot Dam, and we came up with this idea of doing this interview series. And, you know, I knew, I'm good friends with Charlie Petch, who was the founder of Hot Dam, and they told me about you, and we're totally excited. So I was thinking, who better to introduce the viewers to Hot Dam as a series than you. So can you tell us a little bit about the Hot Dam series, history, and how you got involved?
Yeah, for sure. So Hot Dam started a couple of years ago, I think 5 or 6 years ago, by the wonderful Charlie Petch, who is such a wonderful human on top of being a wonderful poet. I started going to queer slams in Toronto when they were run at Buddies and Bad Times, and I absolutely loved it. And Charlie decided to bring a couple people on board to help with the planning process. And I was so happy. I remember when Charlie asked me, I like squealed. I was like, yes, I want to be involved with Queer Slam. It's like it warms my heart. Like every time I think about the events we hold, it's just such a lovely queer energy that is just so wonderful, and something that I thought was really lacking from the scene in general. And so it was really great to get involved. And then Charlie stepped down and passed it on to me, and a couple folks from the original team stayed on, and then we got a couple of our friends involved. So currently there's about 5 of us on the team, and we're all queer, and we're all youth also. We're all like,
Nice.
I think we're all the same age. I think we're all like 22 to 23, which is super cool also, that we're like youth running this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really cool. And I've been running it since the pandemic started. So it's been a difficult change. Well, it was originally a difficult change to go online, but we found that, you know, it created space for all of us to do poetry in our own homes, which was really wonderful because a lot of us on the team are disabled, and there were a lot of disabled poets that couldn't, you know, go to events all the time. So creating that space virtually was really wonderful. And we get to meet folks who are like from all over the world. We have like really intimate workshops, and we've had people from like London and like California, and somebody from Germany once like joined one of our workshops. And so it's been super wonderful to like have people we never would have met before share space with us, which has been really cool. Yeah, and Hot Dam is Canada's only queer scene, I believe. There's no other queer specific poetry slams that happen. So it's really cool that we get to create that space.
That's awesome. So, I mean, like, not only have you had an opportunity to become a part of this community and run this fabulous series, but it sounds like you really made lemonade out of the lemons of the pandemic. And yeah, got a good silver lining there. So I was really kind of like down the rabbit hole of your work today, and looking at your bio, and you've got different versions of your bio, which I loved. And you had a phrase in your bio that I just fell in love with, and it's in the long version of your bio. So I don't know if we'll be able to get it in the description box below, where we will have more information about you. But you say you had feelings publicly and have performed them on national and international stages. And I just love that wording, because as a spoken word artist, who understands that vulnerability, that really spoke to me. And I would love to hear you tell me a little bit about where that came from and the idea of sharing feelings publicly.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it just kind of came from the idea that like public outbursts of emotion are like kind of frowned upon in our like society. And my dad's British, so I grew up with a very stiff British upper lip, just like being at home. And I remember my first ever poetry slam, I just like just like threw up so many emotions, and it felt like I was like causing a scene almost. And that's what like performance is. It's like causing a scene on purpose. And so I remember being like, oh my God, I just like talked about my feelings publicly. This is like ridiculous. Like, why did I do that? And I like had a big like, it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to have them on stages. It's okay to talk about them. So that was kind of a reckoning with me, the idea of I can have feelings and I can share them with people. I don't need to keep everything on the inside, which is, I think, it really affected my work, but also just really affected the way I move through the world. And I've allowed myself to be vulnerable and to have feelings and to not try and, shove them into a bottle and bury them deep down. Yeah.
I understand that. I have a similar family heritage in my past as well, and so I know what you're talking about. One of the things that you mentioned as well in your bio was having your work being, or wanting to facilitate actually, but I would imagine that it would be the case for you as well, a kind of conduit for healing and growth. So was that something that drew you back to it after that initial experience?
Yeah, it was really wild to have feelings publicly and then to have others see themselves in my feelings and then not feel so alone about it all, which is like something that just keeps bringing me back to writing and being around poetry. The idea that like feeling not alone means so much and it's like helped me realize that what I'm feeling is normal and it's okay and people go through that and it's something that I can learn to live with and heal from and get better, which has definitely been life-changing as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's how I feel, as a lover and practitioner, but mostly as a lover of the art form, how it's such a gift. You've created space. You've created space with Hot Damn, and you've created space yourself as an artist when you're sharing your work. And I encourage people to check out more of your work, and Google you, and listen to some of the stuff that I had a chance to listen to today. One of the things that I was thinking about actually was, your work is so powerful and it's informed by politics. And then I found out that you're studying right now. You said you're at McMaster and you're studying poli-sci, and I thought, okay, well, that's no surprise. And I was wondering about the idea of a poem as a kind of political rhetoric or a political response, and I was wondering how you felt about that and how those two worlds kind of intersected for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think poetry in itself and like art in itself is of course an act of resistance, no matter what the subject matter is. If you're writing about getting out of bed for the first time in a week, or if you're writing about the state of the government or whatever, it's putting those thoughts down and sharing them is political and causes change and causes other people to feel things. And I have learned through my poli-sci degree that I can just be angry or I can be angry and write something about it. And I don't mean to like cause political upheaval, but like me sharing something in a poem is more accessible for somebody than learning about a specific topic. Like with the poem I have about certain politicians that's online, it's one thing for somebody to like have the same education as I have or learn about a topic, and then to just hear about it and hear how it actually emotionally has affected people, I think is really important. I know, God, I can't remember their name, but there was this one poet I saw once at the Toronto Poetry Slam who did this poem about Justin Trudeau. And it was like so powerful. And it was like learning about how you're affected by the state to me is more important than learning about the state itself. Because I think when we teach without empathy, it takes so much out of it. Like if I'm just learning in an ivory tower way, I don't learn about the actual people who are affected, right? I learn about the state, I learn about what it does, but I never get to hear the people who are affected by it, which is what I think is so important and what poetry makes up for. Yeah.
Yeah, that was we were talking before. I was sharing a little bit about my impressions about your work, and I was saying that I felt this real connection between my head and my heart. So I was thinking about the issues you were talking about, and googling some things so I could get caught up on the specifics, but also feeling my way through my response via your response. And I thought that that made it was part of what made the work really powerful for me. And one of the things that I thought about too is because you have a really nice balance between a vulnerability and a fearlessness, a real power, a real powerful fearlessness that I thought, you were able to mix really well in one piece. And thinking about that fearlessness and that truth telling ability made me wonder if you personally have ever had to pay a price, if there was a price for that truth telling, if there was ever, an incident where it was kind of coming up against things, relationships where, you felt like you had to pay a price.
I have dated my fair share of people who are not on the same page with me politics wise, or who like don't believe that putting it in a poem matters or will do anything about it. Specifically, so I have a poem about Patrick Brown that's on the internet, and somebody I was like seeing romantic wise at the time was like upset about it, and like upset that I was so quick to rush to judgment about a situation and, throw myself at it is the term that they used. And so it's definitely, my writing has definitely like stopped certain things from blossoming romantic wise, but also why would I want to have anything to do with those people anyways? I think it's really helped me weed out the field. I wrote this poem in high school called Bring Your Date to a Poetry Slam. And it's like not a full piece or anything, but it's about the idea of like, bring your date to a poetry slam, and like, they're going to see your vulnerability and they're going to see what you believe in, and then they're never going to text you back about it, which has been my experience a couple times. But also, I see it now as a blessing and a gift because I wouldn't want those people in my life to begin with.
Yeah, simplifies things a little bit. It's like time saver. One of the other things I really felt in a response to your work was a sense of being educated. Like I said, I was Googling things, I was thinking about things in a different way. And one of the phrases that came up in one of your poems, you were talking about this idea of emotional labor. And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the idea of the kind of like the privilege and the burden of educating people on, and let me preface this too with, one of the things, again, that's in the long form of your bio is talking about the work you do around, workshops and teaching around consent and identity and queer identity and gender politics. So I was wondering if you can talk a bit about that idea of like, when is it a privilege or when is it a burden, and how do you find a balance there?
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Yeah, I guess I try and separate my teaching and the labor between what I actually get paid to do and what is free emotional labor. I work for this wonderful charity based in Toronto called Canvas, and we do consent education and queer identity education in schools and businesses and camps. And I love teaching kids. I love answering all their questions to the best I can because that's what I'm there to do. That is my role. Those are like, my boundaries are open when it comes to that. Like, ask me about consent, ask me about these things, because it's not every day you're going to get like a random person in your class teaching you about these things. And I love doing that. And I get paid for that labor. And then when it comes to like educating others about my experiences, it's just a lot sometimes. And like for my friends, I'll do it. My friends also know that we all have boundaries with each other. I was actually in a situation recently where a bunch of friends and I were talking about politics, and I was staying quiet, and I was the only one, like, I'm the only poli-sci major, everybody else is like an engineer or whatever. And one of them turns to me and goes, Robyn, why aren't you saying anything? You're a poli-sci major. You are probably the most educated on this topic. And my other friend goes, Robyn's not going to say anything because they're smart. Mm-hmm. Which is also like, I sometimes just cannot and will not engage in conversations around anything I've learned, my own experiences with people, because like sometimes you gotta just draw those lines or else they will never stop getting crossed. Like just being like a racialized queer person, everybody wants to learn about queerness from me, nobody wants to Google it. So that as well is like a thing I try and balance. And of course, like if somebody's like earnestly asking me, you know, sometimes if I'm in the mood and I have the energy to and the capacity to, I will, of course. But like sometimes it's a lot when I become somebody's Google, or I become, there's wonderful phrase one of my friends came up with, that somebody like would just tap me like a maple tree and just take all the maple out. And yeah, feeling like that is exhausting. And then if I am exhausted in that realm, then going to work exhausted, emotionally exhausted, just doesn't work. So I try and find this balance of like, what am I willing to talk about? What am I not? And drawing those firm boundaries.
And then the art, I guess, or I should ask, would that be like a cathartic expression of what's kind of left over?
Yeah, for sure. The art is what I have sitting with me that I need to release. And a thing we always say at Hot Damn is, don't assume every poet will want to engage in a conversation with you about their work and about the topics of their work. And we try and like bring that idea of consent into our spaces, not just like physical touch, but the idea of asking somebody before you talk about their work. Because like when somebody is on stage for 3 minutes and like pouring their heart out, they probably don't want to come off and then have an hour-long conversation with you about what their work was about, right? So that's also a boundary I try and keep.
That's great. That's a great idea, and it's a great motto to have. It's very protective of the artist. So I think this will be probably my last question, because I really want to have another piece from you. I'm just wondering, what is it, if you could sum up what you hope that your audience will take away from your work, kind of as a body of work? What are you looking for to leave with your audience?
Great question. I want my audience to feel every emotion that you possibly can. I try and make my poems, I try and make them go from like sad to you're laughing, to you're sad and laughing, and now you're crying. And like I try and like round out my poems that way. I guess what I want my audience to take away from it is honestly whatever they want. I don't care. If you take something away from it, that's all. That's good with me. If you choose to leave it, that's cool too. But whatever you're hoping to look for, I hope you find it in my work.
Beautiful. Okay, well, I would love to have a chance to find something in your next piece. So will you share another one with us?
Yeah, for sure. This is probably one of my favorite pieces I've ever written. I wrote it in like first year after like literally one bad date, and I like blew up this romantic encounter in my head to create this poem. But here it is. Awesome. We meet by accident. It is Halloween weekend. My friends and I are all shit-faced, so I can't remember if it was a Friday or Saturday night, to be honest. We're about to cross the street when one of your friends recognizes one of mine, and our two groups intertwine. You like my sexy Harry Potter costume, and I am pissing in laughter at your armless man in lab coat getup. We part ways, and I don't think about you until a month and a half later when you pop up from a card stack on Tinder. Typical. Your profile is not cute. All of your photos are blurry and from 2014, and you're not photogenic at all. And I don't think you'd recognize me. We had talked for all of the flash of a moment, but I'm an idiot. And shoot your shot is my life motto, so I swipe right. I have a new match. I ask if you recognize me, and you do. So we talk for 3 nights. On the first night, you are drunk. On the second night, you are drunk again. On the third night, you are sporting a wicked hangover. And our conversation ranges from binge drinking to my poetry to your music to the sunflower tattoos I want on my hips, and you have to meet me. I, of course, don't think you're that great at this point. So I decide to wear my best lesbian plaid to offset any attraction you might have to me. Listen, I'm expecting a greasy boy to be waiting outside of my door, but instead I open it for the most gorgeous man I have ever seen in my life. Have you ever seen someone so your type your blood pressure drops? I pick my jaw up off the floor and we hang out in my room for a few hours. You catch me off guard when you ask how my parents met, so I'll set the scene. My father has just gotten off of a flight from England to India for his uncle's wedding. He is standing on the rooftop of the house, getting tangled in his angst, thinking about how he'll never get married. And he stops mid-thought when he looks over at the neighbor's rooftop. My mother, standing there with wet hair, putting wet saris the color of sunflowers up to dry on the clothesline. My father picks his jaw up off the floor and they get married during the Montreal snowstorm of '98, and I pop out 9 months later. You set the scene. Your father has the cottage to himself for the summer and invites a coworker down. She, of course, brings all of her friends with her, curbing your father's intentions. He is standing on the rooftop, notices one of the friends is quiet, a little less wild than the rest, your mother. And your father picks his jaw up off the floor and they have a blooming sunflower kind of summer romance, and you are the sum of that. You leave my room, and I realize I'm pretty much in love with you. I fall in love with strangers too easy. We talk for weeks later. I invite you to a poetry slam, and you come, strike up conversation with my friends, tell them you never want to disappoint me. And then you dump me over text message the next day. Say, Tinder is a weird thing, and you weren't really feeling this and didn't want to lead me on. This is a story of an almost lover. And I don't know why you have me so messed up. I literally have nothing to miss. I wish I at least knew the softness of your lips. I bet you taste like that whole bottle of wine you had the night we started talking. It is so hard for two people to fall for each other in the exact right way, at the exact right time. We didn't meet as romantically as our parents did, so maybe that's why you didn't want to fall in love with me. Pretty baby, I could have made your legs shake. I hope one day you get to hear all the poems I've written about you, and I bet they'll leave pop rock punctuation on your tongue. I know I'll leave broken porcelain pieces of me in the palms of your hand. I bet you'll spend the rest of your life holding up the jagged pieces of me and try to place them in the empty parts of other almost lovers, to the one who got away. I hope every time you think of sunflowers and rooftops, you think of me.
Woo! Bravo! Oh my gosh!
Thank you.
Gosh. That was fantastic. What a ride. You know, you told me before you started this poem that it was an almost love. And I was like, this is the love, and this is all came together, and they will be together forever. And then, you know, I was just with you every step of the way. I loved it. Wow. What a whirlwind.
Thank you.
You know, some relationships are only good for poems.
Yeah, and that's the truth. And I am happily in love currently, which is wonderful.
Great. I love a story with a happy ending. Well, I want to thank you for spending this time with me, everybody. This is Robyn Kaur Sidhu, the creative director of Hot Damn. It's a queer slam, one of the best spoken word series we have in Canada. I could maybe say in the world, who knows? I haven't been to all of them, but this one is great. So thank you for spending time, for opening up your heart, for sharing your beautiful work with us. I'm so excited. This, as I said, is going to be our first of many features with Hot Damn artists and our first of the Brickyard interview series. So thank you for being part of this inaugural session. And yeah, it was great. It was great chatting with you. So thanks again, Robyn. And
thanks so much for having me.
More info about Robyn, everybody. If you want to find out more about Robyn, please look below. I'm pointing down here in the description box. We have social media and hopefully soon a website and a bio. And please Google them and find out, find more work. Thanks, Robyn.